Thanks for coming in, Tom. When we found these old film reels, someone recognized you and we knew you'd be able to help tell us about what we found.
Well, I'm really glad you found these reels there, John, because I often wondered what had happened to them. But for years and years, we used to go hiking down into the woods, and one year I actually took in this old camera to sort of document it as we go here. And these here shots were taken sort of at the edge of the wilderness there as we were putting on our packs and stuff and getting ready to go. That's Pete right there putting on his pack, and you can see they're all loaded up. And here we are with the poles there to kind of keep our stability there. And here we are starting out. It was pretty early in the morning there we started out there. We had a long way to go all day long. In fact, it was probably a good 10 or 15 miles to get into where we were going. And here you can see it's a little later in the day there, and there's Larry up front with the sled. As you can see, there's some snow on the ground here, and sometimes there wasn't a lot of it when we first started out because we were kind of in the valley. And sometimes we were literally pulling that sled up over ground and rocks and things. Larry there, he was a real trooper. It was good of him. He was a good fellow to drag that in there all like that. And here you're going to see he falls off, and we were literally going ho ho pull pull because we didn't want to lose that sled in the river there as we were crossing it. There he is again there, Larry. Just carting it along there. And the guy behind him there, we took turns with the rope there to kind of stabilize it. And you can hear, here's another section there, John, where there's just no snow on the ground. And it was like pulling over sand. Larry, what a guy. He was a really great fellow. This is another shot there hiking in. And again, you can see that the ground is kind of bare. But that's going to change pretty quickly as we start to gain elevation in the mountains here on our trip in. For this climb.
How often did you guys go in there?
Oh yeah, we used to go in at least once a year. When the weather was looking good, there was 10 of us, sometimes 12, 6 from year to year, and a bunch of guys kind of changed from year to year. Depending upon who was available. It was kind of an annual adventure that we used to take. And then climb some mountains when we're up there. Some of the guys like to go skiing in the backwoods. That was nothing I ever really wanted to do because, I always thought it looked a little dangerous. Looking here, there's Larry again. He's kind of hauling this thing across this riverbed here. I'm not sure why he didn't take it across the bridges there. Maybe he was just a little too concerned that it might fall over and fall off the bridge there, and it was kind of dicey at times. But again, here you go. Here they are helping him get that thing up the hill. It was quite a job pulling this thing in there, and again you can see the bare ground there. We didn't know when we left that there was going to be bare ground when we started out, but it got dark eventually. These are a couple night shots, didn't have a lot of those, but eventually after a day of hiking all day, we made it to the camp in the woods there. Long ways in, no power, using candlelight here to see by, and somebody brought up some games and stuff that we would play, games of world domination. You can see Doug and Mike there and Tim celebrating a win. And then there's Mario there. He brought in his ukulele. It's probably a good thing that you can't hear anything on these old films, of course. There was no soundtrack at all. But he kind of entertained us there, and we just pretty much ignored him. Next morning here we are getting breakfast together. Of course, this was winter camping, but we used the term kind of loosely. We brought in all this food. We ate heartily. Quite well in there, and usually there was more than enough food, and we were warm in the cabin. It wasn't like we were sleeping in tents or anything. And this is the next morning as we finally set out to trek up to the top of the mountain there, the highest mountain in this neck of the woods, crossing Johns Brook right there, fortunately frozen over, so it was pretty easy to cross. The guys were bringing up their skis so they could get in some backcountry skiing, and already you can see there's significantly more snow on the ground there. That's Tom there trying to make fun of the camera. Kind of funny thing, I brought the camera in there to film it, and at first they all thought I was nuts, and the next thing you know, they wanted me to film everything that was going on. Here we are again walking up the side of the creek. It's pretty flat at this point. Of course, we had the poles for stabilization, and you can actually see the boot nails there on the bottom of his feet to help us walk on ice and slippery conditions there. Crossing a little stream, and here you can see the incline is starting to increase as we make our way toward the top of the mountain. Well, of course, it wasn't always easy here to set up the camera. In fact, I often had to go run ahead there to set up before the guys came along because I wanted to get more than just these shots from behind. So I dash ahead and set up the camera and then catch them as they went by. But it was a game of cat and mouse all day long. Here's Mario again, having to duck for the branches there, and this actually became a bit of a problem as we continued up the mountain. The guys with the skis, of course, because we're walking quite a bit higher up off the ground than you realize. There's probably a good 3 or 4 feet of snow at this point. And of course, as we get even higher up the mountain, you'll see in a few moments here where they really are just having to duck all the time to avoid hitting their skis on the branches. Mario's checking out the snow here. He's getting kind of excited because they were hoping it would soften it up for some skiing up at the top. I never did quite understand why he wouldn't just go to a ski area and use the lift line, but I guess there's some type of excitement and adventure and climbing up a mountain and skiing it down it a couple times. Here again, you can see the incline has gotten even more steep as we continue up the mountain. There's Mario again. You'll see there that, well, I guess this isn't the shot I thought it was, but you'll see in a moment where he has to duck quite a bit. I remember filming this now, even though it has been years since I've seen it. Not quite sure where it disappeared to, but I was really glad to hear that you guys had found it in the Adirondack Archives. And we were really fortunate that the weather was as nice as it was when I was filming this thing. Here I was, of course, before the days of long-term forecasts and things like that, so I brought it in there with hoping we'd have good weather, and I couldn't have had better weather. I mean, it was gorgeous blue skies, absolutely spectacular, especially up on top when we kind of got above the tree line. There's Larry again up front and Mario with his skis. Coming up behind them is Doug Miller. Some of these shots were actually more difficult to achieve than you might imagine because I wanted to get some shots. Here's that shot I was telling you about where I remember this distinctly here. Mario got stuck in the trees there, and he actually started calling for me to give him directions on what to do to get through there, but they were definitely tired. And of course, the time every foot forward was 2 steps back sometimes, the way your foot would slip and slide in the crusty snow. Indeed, at this point, I think the guys started to realize that there wasn't going to be any skiing up there. And that Mario there, he's actually holding up a chunk of ice and kind of complaining about the conditions because they had hauled these skis in all these miles, hoping for a couple virgin runs down the slopes, and they started to realize that there was going to be no skiing here today. We're getting to above the snow line there. There's a good shot of one of the trail marker signs there. Now this thing would normally be above your head, but in the picture there you can see that you're actually standing above it practically because of the height of the snow and the amount of snow there. Now there's the top of the mountain again there, and lo and behold, look at that. There was a string of people lining up like an elevator to get up there to the top. And this is an excellent shot here where you can see where this is Tom House literally just taking one step at a time. This is boilerplate ice. It was like bulletproof and quite dangerous. In fact, while we were up there, we actually saw somebody slide down the mountain, probably several stories. I didn't have the camera going at the time, so I didn't have it, but he was quite shooken up. There's a panoramic shot from the top, looking all around, and a spectacular day in the mountains. And here's another shot of, this is Doug right here, Miller, coming down the mountain. Now he's got boot nails there to help with his grip. Now these clowns actually thought they seen Sasquatch up there, so they were running down, but it turns out it was just Mario, and well, we won't get into that. Suffice to say, we're on our way down the mountain at this point. It's probably late afternoon by now. We'd had a little lunch, but we still had a long haul back to the camp, and I know a bunch of the guys were kind of depressed and upset that they didn't actually get to do any skiing. We actually came across a couple people skiing, and there they are right there going through the trees there with their backcountry skis. And you can see they have nice form there, but the conditions were pretty horrendous at the time. And most of the guys didn't want to try it, though in a second here you'll see where Mario, as he puts on a pair of skis and actually tries going down the mountain. As long as he was on the trail, things weren't that bad, but here he is right here coming down, and this was part of the trail where things weren't that bad, but of course we went off the main trail because we had to get back to camp, and things actually became a bit dangerous. There's Mario and also Tim Lennon, but eventually we told the guys they had to take their skis off because we didn't want to have to carry him out of there with a broken leg or something. So at this point, many of us had to put on snowshoes because we were post-holing. There's Mario again, flying down the mountain. This is just before we told him that it's enough, Mario, enough. Now, this part of the trail, we were doing quite a bit of post-holing, which we did put our shoes on, our snowshoes, to help keep us there above the snow as we came down the mountain. And you can see how steep it was. And that's it. I guess there's no more.